Saturday evening, early at that point. Well, I planned on starting this about 2 hours ago, but I found some other stuff to do in the meantime. So I'm going to make this as short as possible with just some basic descriptions here and there. You like what you like? Check it out. So number one, this is what I've been listening to this week so far. Well, the week's over, so it is what it is. But I got an original press of Duke from Genesis for about $6. Sorry. Mostly because of the damn stains and everything like that. But it's the gatefold. You know, I got so used to the 2007 digital remix. I know that's the versions that everyone says shouldn't exist and how dare they. I never stopped to realize how quiet and somber the proper OG mix is. I don't even have a CD copy of this album. So I was picking up something else and they needed another $6 add-on and boom, here it was. And it's mixing. It was just missing from my collection. Behind the Lines, Duchess, Man of Our Times. Misunderstanding is one of my top 5 Genesis songs. I know that makes me sound like a poser, but I love it. It's just, you compare the topic version on YouTube and Spotify to the original video version. Yeah, you can tell this is a much less punchier album on the bass and the piano when you look at it compared to the versions we always hear on the radio and, again, Spotify and YouTube. It's, again, an album that pretty much telling the story of a character's girlfriend is cheating on him, misunderstanding. Then he's going through a lot of life changes and a new outlook. Heath Hayes, which became one of my anthems just before I got suspended from work for 2 months and went into rehab. That song really connected with me. He turned it on again on side 2, one of their biggest hits, where now he's sitting at home, flipping through the channel, seeing what's on. Alone Tonight, Cul-de-sac. I really love Please Don't Ask. And Alone Tonight, too, because those really speak to me at certain parts of my life. And even right now, as I'm sitting here waiting yet another week to find out if I definitely got this job, which I think I did, but I'm really feeling in touch with, as an introvert, and also just tired of being used, abused, backstabbed by people, and it's a fitting album. It's not my favorite Genesis album. I haven't stopped playing since I got it, but for a band rebounding from Hackett leaving in 77, and let's be honest, and then there were 3 is not that great. A couple of really good songs, Burning Rope and stuff like that. But no, this is the start of the commercial period, just like in American Psycho, as part of that big dialogue we all know. It's a standout album. Okay, I got the remastered vinyl of Jar of Flies, which is, it's an EP from Alice in Chains, but it's about 40 minutes. So, it's, if this was the old days, this would be a full-length album. Just the fact that when it came out in the CD age, if your album wasn't 55 to 72 minutes, it wasn't technically an album, but it really freaking is. Rotten Apple, Nutshell, I Stay Away. Love the instrumental Whale and Wasp. Swing on This is a lot of fun. Well, Swing on This gives me a lot of Angry Chair vibes with the way they're doing it. For $16, a CD copy would be about $12 or $13. And even the used CDs I'm starting to see from when I was 6 years old, some places are selling those for $10. So I looked and I went, nah, I know this is a CD album. Give me the goddamn vinyl. And let me tell you, putting the equalizer on the preamp +2, adjusting the bass channel on the regular amp, oh my God, you could pick out every single bass chord, every little drag on the strings. You could hear the dying flop of the string on this thing. It's so, the separation between the bass, the vocals, and the drums on this edition, it made it an entirely new album, like I'd heard it for the first time again. Rotten Apple even sounded creepier than ever. I Stay Away was so even more dynamic than I remember as a kid. Okay, so keep going. I don't want to spend here for a half hour, even if I could. Lucifer's Friend. This is an original promo copy of Mean Machine. Gold stamp and everything. So clean. This is their 81 album. This is when they had done 2 albums with Mike Starrs from Coliseum 2. Not Rock and Roll Singer, but we're looking at, Good Time Warrior. That's it. So with Good Time Warrior, which I have a copy of, it's interesting to have a melodic yet slightly grittier voice compared to, John Lawton with that broad-range crooner aspect. If anything, Mike Starrs can go into falsetto too. It's a difference maker. And I have an OG copy of that album downstairs. I'll pull out. It's not bad. I don't have a problem with the 2 albums without John Lawton. I actually have a first press of Sneak Me In coming for $8. I found very good all around. And so as soon as that comes in, I listen to it. I'll give you my own opinions on that. There's also a CD remaster of Sumo Grip from '94 coming. That was the Lucifer's Friend 2 era when they tried to come back, for the second time in the '90s. And once I pick up the 2 early '70s represses I have of Lucifer's Friend and When the Groupies Killed the Music, I'll just be down to the 2016 and 2019 albums, Too Late to Hate and Black Moon, to try to find. That says an update. This is, with Lawton coming back on this is their, some people say speed metal. I think it's more just trying to be NWO BHM, yet with the keys on Hey Driver, the second song, man, it sounded like Jefferson Starship's Jane. Jane, you're playing with me. I heard it and I went, Starship? I get that we're going for NWO BHM, but Starship? And maybe another fitting comparison would be the down-to-earth Graham Bonnet-led Rainbow album, what would eventually come with Difficult to Cure with Jolyn Turner. A lot of the songs on this album really fit on Difficult to Cure. They would, eventually that album would come out after this. They would fit on Down to Earth. They kind of want to be Witchfinder General at moments. But again, you throw in the keys, because this is still sort of a prog jazz hard rock band. It gives it that Starship vibe. Not in a bad way. It's not that light as, We Built This City, but it's definitely in that Jane, Black Widow type of vibe. I mean, Fire and Rain, Cool Hand Killer, just fantastic. I really loved Born to the City and One Night Sensation. This is a much better album than people either know or realize. I know Banquet and then the first 3, but this is a strong album. If you've never heard Mean Machine, give that a shot, especially if you like the 79 to 81 Rainbow and stuff like that. I think you're going to come out on top with that one. Okay, moving on. Holy shit. A lot of stuff I've been listening to this week. All right. The Graham Edge Band, the second one, with Adrian Gervitz. Well, featuring Adrian Gervitz, Paradise Ballroom. So, the Graham Edge Band, the two albums, the first one came out in between the first and second album of the Baker Gervitz Army. So, Adrian and Greg Gervitz. So, this is the drummer from the Moody Blues during that 4 to 5 year period where the Moody Blues didn't exist anymore. They came roaring back with 81's Distant Voyager. Of the two, not counting the 3 Baker Gervitz Army releases, this is so much stronger. There's so much more life and energy on this one. They were more willing to be not exactly hard rock, but there's a lot more bounce. There's a lot more foot stomping on this second album. The title track alone is a hit in of itself. You got Human, All Is Fair, Down, 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 and another like Caroline as your half sing-along high chorus ballad, Decca 77. Great stuff on this. Give it 2 or 3 listens, but half the tracks are going to stand out to you once they start on the first round. And another great sleeve. This is Joe Patagno. This came out in 77. A few months after this, if not around the same time, he'd be introduced to Lemmy. And Joe would go on to produce, still ongoing with the archival reissues and stuff like that. Pretty much every single Motorhead album cover, poster, magazine. This is the guy who, right after this, designed Snaggletooth or War Pig, whichever you want to call it. It surprises me to look at this and realize it's the same dude doing this Rodney Matthews-looking painting, because I'm so used to, Another Perfect Day, Sacrifice, Bomber, Bomber, Overkill. Same dude, he could do fantasy fairy tale paintings. I wish he did more of them later on, but, Motorhead's Motorhead. Okay, up next, not something new that just came in this week. I've had this album about 15 years. It's one of my top 5. If I were to do a ranking video, and I probably will in the near future, I just got to get some more of these albums I'm missing. Sodom, M16, 2001. Oh, God. Among the weird Kong, I am the war. Napalm in the morning. Cannon fodder. We are Marines. The cover of Surfing Bird from the Trashman at the end of it. For those of you who don't listen to 60s music, but you love Family Guy, you're going to know that song from Surfing Bird. Ooh, ma 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 ma, ooh, ma 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 ma. Oh, God. I love their version of it. There are moments where I'll be sitting around, if I think of a Sodom song, I'll think of the title track from this. Free Fire Zone with my M16. So damn good. While talking about Nam, and the direct reference, of course, is Apocalypse Now, because they even, bring in the napalm in the morning speech. Of course they do. It lays out the violence and trauma of being a soldier, and doesn't glorify it. In true Sodom fashion, they're laying out that gray area between the loss of humanity, between knowing, morally speaking, the right and wrong, just the soldier becoming part of the weapon and being cold and doing what he has to do, or he's trained to do. It's such a fantastic album. Again, if I were to do a ranking on Sodom, it'd probably in my top 5. Spoiler alert, I guess, for the future, but we'll get around to it. Okay, so from the Fusion World, Return to Forever with Chick Corea. Where Have I Known You Before? This is a The best version of this album is a Santa Maria press, and this is it. I got it for $7, not counting the $4 shipping, of course. But a very good sleeve, near mint vinyl. Just it has enough silence yet dynamic range for the mid to get everything. This is the first one with Al Di Meola, and Vulcan Worlds has to be one of their best tracks. The Shadow of Low, written by Lenny White. This album is just, it's punchy. It can be face melting, yet also romantic at times with the Where Have I couple of tracks that chick wrote, to the little interludes that are like a minute, 2 minutes. I love the start of side 2 with Earth Juice, which it hits you. It hits you kind of like a Miles Davis type of session. The Electric Era. Well, of course, it's Chick Corea. He was there. It's just really tight, Grateful Dead-like, but still some flamenco and funk. The big epic off this is Song to the Pharaoh Kings at 14 minutes. God, they just whack you over the head with that, with the Middle Eastern stuff and the Egyptian tones. And again, Chick bringing in just absolute rhythmic fire on piano. There'll be more of an analysis on that because I have both the 78 tour documents of Herbie and Chick tour. The Herbie one, which is more laid back and harmony based, and then I just got the Korea Hancock, which just came out, and they were on the same record company. So Chick had like 4 studio albums that year in 78, so they held up his version of the shows until early 79 to give Herbie more stuff. I mean, Herbie had 2 studio albums in the live album, and one of those studio albums was a Japan only release, I think. I'll double check on that, but I'll listen to those in a little bit and come back with a separate video. And then finally, Return to Forever's last traditional album back in the day, Music Magic from 77. Look at that gorgeous cup. This might be the best overall artwork. This and Romantic Warrior for Return to Forever. Don't get me wrong, that first album with the Falcon over the water is just stunning. But this, as borderline surrealism, you remember it. And at this point, it's Chick and Stanley. Let me think. Al Ferraro, the saxophonist, had come back on this album. This is after, Lenny White's gone. Chick's wife, Gail Moran, comes in and does her vocals. Jerry Brown on drums. Harold Garrett on tenor and brass trombone. Joe Farrell. On sax. He was on the first 2 albums. So there's vocals throughout this whole thing. I think Chick even has a couple of vocal spots too, which is a little weird. My thing with this is I struggle to get the OG inner sleeve back in. This feels, to go through the Clark, White, Di Meola era, that trio, Where Have I Known You Before? You even got to start with him in the Seventh Galaxy. There's no Lenny on this one. Or Al. To go through that trio of just harmony, rhythm, explosiveness, to wind up with this album at the end, where they're sort of going back to, at moments, it could be Light as it could be Hymn to the Seventh Galaxy in spots, yet a closer feel to the first 2, with Flora and Moira. It feels a little like a letdown. It's solid, don't get me wrong. Of the 7 albums from Return to Forever, there are no bad Return to Forever albums. Each one's a progression, a growth, except for this one. This one feels like Chick has just done My Spanish Heart and The Leprechaun in 76, along with Romantic Warrior, for fuck's sake. This one feels like just a bridge to his 3 or 4 78 albums. I think it was 4. Again, had they put out the other version of the other side of the Korea Hancock, and he'd have 4 or 5 albums just that year alone. This feels like the bridge to those 3 or 4 78 albums. More like a placeholder and kind of going back to the beginning a little bit. So I would rather listen to Secret Agent, The Mad Hatter, or The Leprechaun. My Spanish Heart's a double LP, for frick's sake. Friends, even. This gave me more of those vibes than a Return to Forever album. So that said, now that I'm sort of taking the piss out of it, but I'm really not trying to. Hello Again, the title track. We have another reference to Captain Senor Mouse. We have So Long Mickey Mouse from Stanley Clarke. Great. Gail actually gets writing credits for Do You Ever composing and arranging. Do You Ever's pretty gorgeous overall. The Endless Night, that's a Chick one. Long form storytelling. Nothing to complain about. When you get used to those 3 or 4 albums in a row, just bringing you new energy and added octane to the fire. To go into what Chick was doing normal solo all of a sudden, it throws off the vibe a little. Again, solid album. If I were to do a separate ranking, I guess I'm going to have to at some point, because the only one I'm missing is Light as a Feather, and I found a real Japan copy for a pretty good price. I tried to get the best pressings of all these Return to Forevers. I might put that at the bottom right now. Again, not because it's bad, because it's not. It just feels more in line with what Chick was doing solo with everybody, instead of making something new with Return to Forever. You get what I'm saying? Okay. Last 2, and I'm going to shut this shit down because I didn't think I'd go this long, but I found some ways to talk about it. Miles Davis, the Master Sound 96 version. Someday My Prince Will Come. Couple of run-ins from Coltrane, who comes in. Gil Evans had a hand in the harmony and arrangements on half this album, I would say, and Coltrane comes in on 2 tracks. I'm pretty sure the first one is the title cut, Someday My Prince Will Never Come. He had a hand in T.O., and I thought of Gil Evans had a hand in T.O., and I thought of you as well. I say that because 3 months after the sessions were laid down, you had the Carnegie Hall concert with Gil Evans and orchestra, one of only 2 definite performances that ever happened. And they do half of this unreleased album as part of that set. Coltrane, this is a very romantic album. So, like Quiet Nights, but this is more, you're with your girl, it's sunny, you're at the beach, maybe you're going for a walk in the park. I stupid idea, I know, I sound weak. But Coltrane, when he comes in, plays the more, high energy, the flaming hot lover, if you will, in the conversation, in the date, in the piece. Not complaining because it's Coltrane, but that old folks francing. I already mentioned T.O. and I Thought About You. This is not a... If you want a high energy blues album, jazz album, not one of those. This is a bit of a classical with just smooth talking, flirting, or getting down to business at the start of it. The setup. Fantastic performances all around by everybody. Not one of my go-tos, because I have to be, again, it's a mood piece. But still fantastic from start to finish. And one more, Master Sound. God, I only paid $15 for this quality. The resale is usually $60 to $75 with the Obi and everything. In a silent way, this is the weird setup because at that point, the second quintet had finished officially with 3 tracks on Phila de Kilimanjaro, and then there were 2 tracks with what would be the Bitches Brew Electric Group, tracks 1 and 5 on that release, which I have coming for $4. But I'm looking to ultimately double up those 3 other quintet tracks when I get the box set. It's just the way it worked out. But he called in shorter. Tony Williams and Herbie back from the second quintet. Despite those weird 2 tracks already being recorded and set ahead that are in the starting up in the Silent Way Complete Sessions box set. He brought those 3 back from the second quintet, and they played with McLaughlin and Correa, hence the Herbie and Chick thing. Dave Holland on bass. And what you get is, it's weird because Tony Williams in a Silent Way goes to, instead of being the fireball who's, forcing Herbie Hancock to stop being the conversational harmony player to challenge him, Tony Williams sits back in the pocket and just grooves. So Weenel showed up on electric piano. We have 3 pianists. I said pianists. Get your mind out of the gutter. Chick comes in and he's still bringing the rhythm and everything. Chick really gets to bring the extra rhythm to challenge Herbie on this album. And Wayne on tenor sax, he does more of a conversational, dreamy type of expression throughout this 4-track. Well, it's 2-track, but it's really, the songs are shh to peaceful and then back to shh. And on the second half, in a Silent Way, about halfway through it transitions to It's About That Time, which is a little more uppity, but then it returns to In a Silent Way. What Macaro did was they brought in those late 60s psychedelic tendencies of tape looping, where the song will just, you actually hear the song stop for a second, and then it loops back to the first harmony to open up the initial suite. I feel like, and as a matter of fact, Miles told McLaughlin, pretend like you're just learning how to play. So what you end up getting with this is a very psychedelic jazz album. And it's the first of the electric, full electric period era. I'd compare this to what popped into my head was how much at times the 3 dueling pianists and Wayne on sax reminded me of Riders on the Storm. When McLaughlin adds the guitar a little bit heavier, suddenly it turns into The End, Tell All the People, bit of flourishes that could be off of Strawberry Alarm Clock albums, Incense and Peppermint, that early Pink Floyd, Scarecrow and stuff like that. I wish this had been the first thing I listened to, because if you like the song, if you love the songs I've named or the bands I've referenced just now, that's what this is. It's just in jazz form. It's a psychedelia album. The only thing missing is Grace Slickpop doing a run-in on vocals. So, I mean, I've already mentioned Jefferson Starship enough in this video. But here you go. This is psychedelic jazz, essentially, with everything that was going on at that point in time. In some ways, McLaughlin's guitar comes in on It's About That Time, and it reminded me quite a bit of Spanish Caravan. You know, the way Manzarek's keys play out with Krieger on guitar. That type of atmosphere. So holy shit, this went for 31 minutes. I really didn't plan it to go this long. I should have just kept talking and making it short. But these are the things I've noticed. So thanks a lot for tuning in. Got my last year blood incantation shirt going like that. Beautiful weather. Wish I didn't F my knees up doing too many squats and standing all day while doing 9-10 miles a day. Oof. Might as well just keep sitting here and listening. All right. Check in later. Apologies. I'm really trying to cut these down on length. There's just a lot going on. So hit like, subscribe if you wish. Leave a comment, guys. I don't care. There's nobody here right now, but I'll get to it. And maybe see you again in about 2 hours. We'll see.